As my mentor and friend John Maxwell always states, everything, I do mean everything, rise and fall on leadership. Whether it's parenting, whether it's running a business, whether it's running a ministry, even in our marriages. How we operate from a leadership paradigm is going to determine how successful our marriage is going to be. It's even more crucial when you're talking about getting married and you're going to be in a blended family. Leadership is a critical component to you being successful in a blended family. So this month, I am talking about how to succeed in blended families. I want to give you some tools that's going to help you be successful. I want to start off by giving you an example, a real life example of something that happened to me. And I knew when it happened, the relationship was not going to be successful. So in 2005, I got back from Iraq. At this time, my son is 12 years of age. And he calls me up one day and tells me that his mother's getting married. And I'm happy for his mother. But there was only one problem. There were several things that didn't line up that after my son kind of shared a few things with me, I knew the relationship would have its challenges. So number one, she lived in Texas and he lived in North Carolina. And they dated long distance. Now, long distance relationships can work, but here's the problem. Most of the time when we date someone in this long distance, we don't date them through all seasons. When you meet someone, it's spring, then you move to summer, then sometimes you get to fall and you get to winter. But if you don't date someone through all seasons, you don't see how they operate when they're angry. You don't see how they operate when they're broke. You don't see how they operate when they get some disappointing news. You need to see how people operate in all seasons before you say I do. And sometimes that's difficult when you're dating long distance. So that's the first challenge that they had. The second challenge that they had, the day that they got married was my son's first time meeting his stepfather, which means they had no relationship at that point. They had not even talked on the phone. That was going to create even more of an issue because there's no relationship. So going into the marriage, they were already facing an uphill battle because there were certain things they just simply overlooked. Now, there's one thing that I want you to consider. If you're in a blended family or you're getting ready to be in a blended family, it's how you go into it. Because how you go into it and the perspective that you have is going to determine how well you succeed. I define blended families as this. When you combine two separate constituent parts, but once those parts are combined, those parts cannot be distinguished. So anytime you get married, you have to move from I to us. You have to move from me to we. So it's no longer your kids and my kids. They turn into our kids because you've moved from I to us. You've moved from me to we. If we never make that transition, the blended family will never become blended. And you're going to face some very difficult challenges. The second component to where she was going to face a tremendous amount of pushback from my son was this. Since that was going to be the first time that he met his stepdad, that means he had no relationship with him up to that point. No relationship. Leadership at its core is about relationships. So I found it kind of puzzling that you are married somebody with children and you're not asking or nobody is introducing you to the child that you're going to be the step parent of. That's going to create some degree of conflict. But here's the leadership principle that I want to leave you with. It's true in parenting, it's true in business, it's true in ministry, it's true in everything that we do when it comes to leadership. People buy in when they've had a chance to weigh in. Now I'm explaining that in a minute. As a parent, you can make whatever decision you want to make because you're an adult. You can choose to introduce the child to the other parent, the step parent. You can choose to get married and not let the child know. You can choose to have certain rules within your house. You can choose to do whatever you choose to do because you are an adult. But here's what I want you to consider. Every choice that we make is going to influence and impact our children in some capacity. And we have to consider the impact and the influence that it's going to have, because sometimes that influence and the impact can last a lifetime in a negative capacity in that child's life. And that child grows up and he begins to treat his spouse or her spouse the same way that that spouse treated him, because he's bitter and he's angry. So we have to consider how those things are going to impact the child. Now, I start off by saying this. People have the opportunity to buy in when they've had the opportunity to weigh in. Now, what does that look like? The most powerful question that you can ask as a leader is this: what do you think? What is your opinion? Now you are inviting someone in to give their input. Watch this. And when you invite someone in to give their input, you're letting them know that they have value. You're letting them know that they are important. You're letting them know that you care about them and you know that this is going to impact them in some capacity and you want their input. That's what that means. But when you don't ask for their input, you're saying just the opposite. I don't care how you feel. I don't care how this impacts you. I'm going to do it anyway. And that's what they did. And as you might can imagine, the relationship only lasted a couple years and they were divorced. How we go into something is going to influence and dictate how we come out of it and how we operate within it. Success in blended families takes intentionality. So this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're going to talk about how to succeed in blended families. I don't want you just to struggle. I want you to thrive. And that's going to take being intentional. So I want you to like this video, share this video, and please leave me a comment. I would love to know what you think because I value what it is you think. I'm Mr. Food for Thought, and I'm signing out.